Located on a beautiful 400-acre organic farm in Smyrna, Tennessee, about 20 miles outside of Nashville, Bloomsbury Farm School began in 2020 with one teacher, Katie Dewhurst, and 5 homeschooled children, including farmer Lauren Palmer's own 5-year-old. Today, it is a Reggio Emilia-inspired K-5 farm school with additional parent-child programming for littler ones that currently serves 86 children. I was thrilled to visit Bloomsbury Farm School recently while in Tennessee and to meet our guests today, Katie Dewhurst and Lauren Palmer. Welcome to the Liberated Podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
I'm
This
so
is so
glad.
fun. Thank you.
I'm so glad to have you here. It was such a treat to be able to visit Bloomsbury Farm and see this incredible program that you've built that is in such high demand. So I'd love to start with, I guess, the beginning. How did it get started? And maybe we begin with you, Lauren. Back in the summer of 2020, obviously a really tumultuous time and lots of education disruption. But what made you decide to add education entrepreneur to your many roles and responsibilities that summer?
Yeah. I had going into first grade at the time, and yes, COVID was happening, and we had done summer camp 2 years before. So the education and COVID, it was a natural change for us to just switch gears and provide an outdoor way of learning. So yes, it was just infantile then, and it's just been so cool to kind of create along the way.
Yeah. And so at the time, it sounds like it was almost your vision to create a little bit of a learning pod for you said your child who was would have been entering first grade. Um,
Yes.
and yeah, and then you decided that you wanted to hire a teacher, like many of these sort of small upstart schools did during COVID. And it seems sort of serendipitous the way you found Katie. I wonder if you can talk a little bit about that.
Right. It was seeing a need with other families kind of talking that they weren't happy educating either online or kind of going back and forth from school. So yes, it was a kind of a get together of some like-minded families who wanted a different way. And the story, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like I sent a newsletter out asking our vegetable-based subscription people if looking for a teacher, and she had an aunt that shopped with us and put in a resume, and from across the US I interviewed Katie, and here we are. So yes, a newsletter turned friendship turned director. Yes, it's very cool.
Amazing. So, Katie, I'd love to turn to you now. When you first came on to lead that small pod, basically in 2020, with a handful of homeschooled kids, could you ever have imagined that it would grow into something that's now serving 86 children and a wait list and lots of demand?
No, definitely not. I think it was clear from the beginning that we were doing something different and needed here in the community, because so many of the kids that came to us were word to mouth. I think for the first 2 years, all of our students were word to
Oh,
mouth.
yeah. Yeah.
Um, I remember one family in particular, one of our first families, the person that was doing their yard work recommended that they come to the farm. And so, no, I could not have imagined that it would grow from 5 to 86 in 4 school seasons. Not at all.
Yeah, and the growth was relatively quick. If I recall, you had something like 30 kids by January of that first year, so January of 2021, and then it just kept growing. Was it mostly families who were already homeschoolers, or was it families who were in a conventional system but wanted an alternative? Katie, we'll turn to you.
Sure. I think at the beginning, I would say most of them were new homeschooling families because of COVID. I'd say
Yeah.
for the first year and a half, 2 years, that was the case, as most of the families that were coming to us were saying, we tried to do Zoom school, it wasn't working for our family. We're looking for something different. We love that you have a space that's safe for kids to be around other kids, and that childhood is being preserved while at the same time academic excellence is being achieved. And it's been interesting in the last year and a half. There's been a shift of families moving away from we're homeschooling out of a necessity to homeschooling families saying we're doing this because it seems like the best thing for our family and we love it and we're so excited to be part of this. So it's been a fascinating shift, most definitely, in necessity to, hey, this is actually what we wanted all along for our
Ah,
family.
and that must feel good too, that it's not sort of a reactionary program to kind of education disruption, but that it's now sought after. It's sort of the preferred educational model for a lot of families. Is that what you hear, Lauren, from the families who are coming to the program?
Yes, they are just super on board with kind of the way we're doing things, and that this opportunity exists, I think is, everyone is just overjoyed that you have this in the community. So yeah, that's super cool.
And how did the Reggio Emilia inspired philosophy come about? Katie, did you bring that with you and decide to kind of build the program around that philosophy, or did it emerge more organically?
That's such a great question. I had the opportunity to work at a Reggio Emilia outdoor preschool in Washington State, as one of the jobs that I held before I came out here. And I fell in love with the way that it honors the individual child, it honors the innate skills that they have and the interests that they have, and allows you to build a space of depth in your learning that's also catering to each individual. And so what's been so interesting here is that most Reggio programs that I've been able to find have stopped at pre-K
Mm.
as a principal. And that's why I guess we say we're inspired by Reggio, because we're not a Reggio school, but that desire to see each kid as an individual that has innate abilities to learn, they have the tools that they need, has been so sweet to follow that and see that unfold here, in a capacity that goes beyond pre-K into elementary.
Yeah, and I know you shared some examples when I visited of what that looks like, sort of spotting the children's interests in the world around them and then following that and kind of building activities and learning modules around that. Can you share what that might look like and with a concrete example?
Sure. I think my favorite example that I like to share with families is um, a few years ago, closer to the beginning of the program, we had a unit planned around waves. So sound waves and light waves and seismic waves and electromagnetic waves, all the waves, because it was wintertime and there's not a lot of life to observe in the winter in Tennessee. And the kiddos zoomed through the material, and about 2 weeks in, They felt confident about the information. Their interest was petering out. And so we said, okay, what's happening around us right now in nature? What are the kids naturally excited about? What are the different skills that each of them have, or the ways that they're leaning already? And something that was happening when we were still having class out of our covered pavilion here on property was that we had some Carolina wrens beginning to construct their nest in a nesting box in our classroom early that year, earlier than we anticipated that they would be. And every morning the kids would come in and poke their heads in the box and see, did the nest change? Did they add more twigs? Are there feathers in there? Are there eggs yet? And so we said, well, okay, let's scrap the rest of this waves lesson. And we wrote about birds. We read about birds. We did art projects about birds, science experiments about birds, history lessons about birds. And we were on birds for a long time until their interest went to something else. But we were able to meet all of those academic goals that we had through a lens of delight and excitement, and also learning from what was right in front of them. Quite literally, those baby birds fledged onto the table while they were doing math one morning. You just can't make that up. Like doing math and a baby bird flies out of the nest onto your table that you've been studying for 2 months now. So connecting that delight with what is happening already outside and can be a teacher naturally has been so cool to see here.
Oh, I just love it. Sounds so special. No wonder so many more families are wanting to be a part of this. And Lauren, I know that when I visited, you said that you felt like more farmers should be doing this. You are running this beautiful organic farm. It's been in your family for years, and you felt like this is doable for more people who have this space and this land. I wonder what your thoughts are on that. What advice you would give, or what urging you would give to other farmers to do something like this?
Yeah, I've always been very open book. We've got 400 acres here, and it feels selfish not to, open it up to what the needs. So yes, and the way my agriculture business works is that we book dinners, and we have a farmer's market, and then we invite the public out here to, enjoy. And like adding the education piece only seemed like natural, because all the facilities like help each other in that like cyclical way. We've had couples get married here, have babies, send their kids to school, and buy the strawberries on Friday. So I love that like full circle way of doing business. And I think as farmers, we do think outside the box to try to make, say we lost all our tomatoes. Well, hopefully I can book another wedding, or, so just being open to those opportunities and like need is how we've like thrived. And education makes perfect sense. So yeah.
Yeah. And so I can sort of, again, see where it would be this natural progression from the farm to then running these classes, as Katie mentioned, sort of in this open air pavilion initially. But then you decided to really sort of fully commit with this gorgeous new dedicated classroom space built from the ground up. That's just absolutely stunning. It's like, all right, now we're really doing this. This is here to stay. Did that feel, Lauren, like sort of the next level for you, like a big commitment?
Yeah, in all the different ways. I had never started a ground up building like that, let alone like off the grid. So there's solar, there's a well we had to dig. So man, was it exciting to know like just the facilities that had to happen, the utilities, and how are we going to do this, and being creative in that way. So yeah, it's pretty wild, and it is just a very exciting time. And it does feel like a launching pad, having some structure to be able to just kick it off even more.
Yeah, and you've been able to see this not only as a founder, but also as a parent of a child who's in the program. How have you noticed your child's education grow through this process?
I mean, she's sad when she can't go to school on her, like, she's like, give me some more, give me some more. So she always asks to stay an extra 10 minutes and, continue playing with the snake that they found in the forest. And I mean, it's just a breath of fresh air. There's an ease about learning, it's comfortable, and it makes it all make sense. So, it's just so cool. And I can't wait for many more generations to go through there. I mean, it's going to be so cool to see what they're going to be when they grow up. It's like, man, like you could do anything you want to do.
So great. So, Katie, you get a lot of feedback from parents. I know you even, were sharing with me when I was there, just parents who say that if their kid is sick or that they get upset that they can't come to the farm school, like that they really want to be there. I'd love to hear, what some of the feedback you're hearing.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a consistent thing that we hear is when kiddos are out sick. We had a mom send us a picture of her kiddo making the saddest face. She's like, he has a cold and he can't come, but he's so mad at me because I won't let him go to school today. But he's running a fever of 103 and we have to keep him home. And that's the consistent thing that we hear from parents. One of the ones that sticks out to me is at the beginning of the year, I was standing with a dad and he was just shaking his head. And I said, "What's up?" And he goes, when I was a child, I was always getting in trouble at school, not because I was misbehaving necessarily, but because I couldn't stop moving. I was a mover and um, I wanted to move while I learned. And so learning was not a positive experience for him. And he said, I wonder who I would be today if I had had a place like this to go to school when I was my daughter's age. I had a dad say, I was never excited to go to school when I was a kid. And every morning my kid's like shaking me awake, like, Dad, get up so we can go to school. Like, I want to go. Let's go. Let's get in the car. And that just feels amazing. I think more than anything else that these kids are getting to come to a place where they experience loving to learn, because ultimately that's going to set them up for a lifetime of discovery far beyond here. That, like Lauren said, like, who are these people going to become empowered with a tool belt of loving to learn?
Just so inspirational. It really makes me encouraged that so many more parents realize the value of these alternative education models and then have that sort of profound reflection of wondering, how their life could be different if they were able to learn in this type of environment. And so I wonder, maybe for either or both of you, what would you say to others who are thinking about potentially launching a micro school or some kind of program like this? How do you create that environment in which children are just so eager to come to school, so eager to learn, shaking their parents awake so they can get there early? What is the special sauce? How do you make that happen?
I think it's like, I mean, we've done some great hiring and having, the teachers that the kids are just climbing all over. And I think we just really vetted the people who we entrust, do the education piece. And just across the farm, we're very family. The vegetable team is helping the education team, and then the events team is helping the school. And so I think when you come here, you have that, like, all right, we're going to take care of you. So I feel like that's the special sauce with us, that we, just want you to succeed, and we're going to do, whatever that is to give you that power. So I'm just so open to, like, okay, what are you going to bring? Like, you want to start an after school program? Okay. I'm just like, bring it on. So yeah.
So that openness to new possibilities. Katie, I'm curious
Yeah.
what you think too. Do you think it's the Reggio Emilia inspired curriculum, or do you think there's something more to it that instills that love of learning?
I think it's a combination of many things. I agree with Lauren that so much of it has to do with staffing. I brag about our teachers all of the time, and I'm truthfully like brought to tears by their dedication to the kids, like all the time. Because they don't, it's not a box check for them. They're not coming in to say, okay, I clocked in, I clocked out. They care so much about these kids. Not only like their academic success, but their success as people, of learning how to respect themselves, respect others, and respect the land. Those are our three like big rules at school: is respect yourself first, respect others second, and then respect the land. And that creates such an open space for kiddos to feel safe when they're listened to, and respected as people, with their own opinions and desires and beliefs and excitements. And so it's a safe place because of the atmosphere of learning, and also because of the teachers that are here, I think. And then also, I mean, what kid doesn't love to be outside for most of the day, and like be holding a frog instead of reading about a frog. I mean, yes, read about the frog too, but like you get to hold it and experience it. And I think back to my childhood, and the things that I remember that stuck with me was those things that I got to experience rather than someone just telling them to me. And that's happening on a daily basis here. So I think it's a combination, but certainly the safety that comes with having fabulous staff and an open way of learning, and hands-on, and being outside and getting to run.
And
We were talking to a teacher a few days ago who said that, I mean, she teaches right down the road, kindergarten, and she said that she's lucky if her students get 10 minutes of recess a day in kindergarten.
Yeah.
Like their little bodies just have to move. And they're certainly moving here.
So that's actually a good segue then back to you, Lauren. Were you thinking about alternative education options for your daughter before 2020, or was it really sort of the COVID disruption that, like so many families, kind of catalyzed you forward in this path?
For me, we were in a little magnet school, so it did feel somewhat leaning that way. And I grew up in a Montessori program too, so I was leaning like that. And then of course people were eating different, people were educating different, and yeah, so it definitely was the catalyst. And we all thought it was a fad, but it's so not. And yeah, it just gave me the launch point to go.
Why do you say that you don't think it's a fad, that this is really here to stay, now kind of 4 years after that initial disruption? What makes you so sure of its
I mean,
sustainability?
our numbers don't lie. And just the excitedness about it. We put in a build. I wouldn't have built a building if I didn't think we were here to stay. So yes, this is year 4. Yeah, I think that's pretty dang solid.
So, Lauren, continuing with that theme, what is the future? I know, your kids are getting older. You currently don't have a middle school, but maybe think about kind of growing with the kids. I guess what is the growth strategy to accommodate not only kids getting older, but this growing wait list and just growing interest in the program?
Yeah, I think it could go a lot of different ways. I selfishly I don't see another best way of doing it. I am like loving having her here. And I also don't want to keep throwing things at the teachers. Like, we're just going to keep going, like a machine. So I do think our sweet spot is early education. But I don't know. I think middle school is not that far-fetched for us either. I'm kind of caught in the crosshairs. I feel like I got one more year to like figure it out. But yes, we do have some sweet like early elementary. But I do, like Katie said, I think there's a need for the higher ed too. So it'll be fun to continue to create and see what that looks like.
Yeah, and like you said, it's just listening to the community, saying yes to things when you can, and kind of seeing where it goes. I'd love to go back for a minute to staffing. It sounds like you have some incredible teachers that really make the program a success. How are you attracting them? How are you recruiting them? And what are they finding to be compelling about this model that makes them want to be there?
You want to go?
I'll just say that we've got some boots on the ground at the farmers market. People kind of know us a little bit on social media. And so I do feel like you want to be a part of our vibe, no matter what it is, if it's, picking tomatoes or it's, hosing a kid off at summer camp. So I think we've been so lucky to kind of collect some of those magical people. But yeah, so I don't know, continue that thought.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think 3 of our long-term teachers that have come through here, no, 4, started with summer camp. They started as summer camp instructors and fell in love with the property and our approach, and then wanted to stay for the school year. And that's been so special of having people come and have buy-in in the summertime and then say, I'd never want to leave. But that's definitely been part of it, but also just the incredible presence that Lauren has in this community, of the reputation that the farm has in the community and the reach that they have. The word gets out and you see people of incredible caliber that seek out this way of teaching and learning, because they get to see the impact that it's having in the community.
So great. And so you're still then running the summer camps as well as the school year program, is that right? Yeah, and I wonder,
Yes.
yeah, so it's busy, but I mean, I wonder, I've heard from other founders of these kind of alternative models that sometimes starting with a summer camp or a school vacation week camp can be a good launching point, sort of trying things out. And then, like you said, maybe parents are excited and want to stay, teachers are excited and want to stay for the school year. Is that your sense too of a possible starting point for someone who might want to do something similar?
Yeah, absolutely. It was, it made perfect sense for us. Summer camp, I went to a agriculture learning group in New York many, many years ago, and a flower farmer from Maine said that she had a shop and she grew flowers, but she did a summer camp, and she's like, it was the best thing ever. The kids grow up to work in the shop, they get married, they order the flowers from us. So I was like, duh. So yes, however your businesses go, like just an extra like wing or an arm of it, so it does need to feel like you still, if a farm is a dairy farm and they want to be a vet school, or I don't know, so yes, it does need to feel like a natural like progression.
Yeah. And then, without getting sort of in the weeds, I'd love to just hear, is this sort of like a labor of love? And obviously, your children are part of the school, Lauren, or is there, is it financially sustainable too, to run these kinds of programs?
I'm happily saying that it is financially makes sense. Probably more so than any of the other passion projects I've done. So yes, it's so comforting to know not only are we working our fannies off, but we're able to provide, a nice income for 4 or 5 different teachers. So I'm checking that box too. So it is super nice. but we could always use more green.
Yes.
Yes.
Grants do make a huge impact. Yeah.
Right. And you've gotten some grants. I know that you're a grant recipient of VELA, the philanthropic fund and entrepreneur network that's supporting unconventional educators. So, Katie, I'd love to kind of hear from you as we begin to wrap up. What do you see as sort of the future of education, and especially sort of these alternative education models that you're helping to champion?
I guess it feels like the possibilities are endless, really. I mean, I know we are providing this beautiful service for so many families, and so many of the family members that come also have their wild experiences and talents and passions to share. And I just think that's not unique to Middle Tennessee, right? That's not unique to Smyrna, Tennessee. That's everywhere. And I've, you know, seen that there's farm schools. I've seen there's forest schools. There's urban outdoor schools. It's possible really anywhere. And so unique to the space that those places are in and the needs of that community. And so I guess when I think about the future, it feels so massive of like the possibilities. And I think it really just takes people that are willing to see those possibilities of a different way of learning and lean in. So their own unique, empowered way of participating in that, and how the people around them, like what those needs are, and then meeting them. I think we're going to see a generation of children that come up in this alternate way of learning through this time. It just really feels like a big movement. I know we said it before already. I'm so curious to see who they're going to become. I really am. I think it's going to be a really fascinating thing in, 15, 20 years to sit down with the kids who came through farm school and be like, what are you doing now? And how are these skills that we get to see like unfold on a daily basis here, of respecting themselves, respecting others, and respecting the land and all that means? How is that impacting the person you are and the person that you are contributing to your community? I'm so excited to see what it's going to be in like 15, 20
Let's do
years.
a reunion, Bloomsbury Farm School reunion in like 2040. How cool would that be?
I mean, I have the shadow box of the letter that Palmer wrote to herself.
Yes.
One.
Yes.
Well, we promised we wouldn't open it for 10 years. So
What was that? What is that?
Year 1 of Bloomsbury Farm School and year 2, we did letters. The kids wrote letters to themselves, and we put them in shadow boxes. And we said, we're not going to open them for 10 years. And then, so we'll see.
So
in 10
great.
years.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's so great. Lauren, over to you then as we wrap up sort of your final thoughts on sort of the future of education, where alternative models like Bloomsbury Farm School fit into that, kind of your hopes for the future.
My hopes for the future. And I mean, I am excited more so than like ever before. I lost my train of thought because the phone is ringing. It does feel pretty endless, and I mean, the programming could, oh my gosh, tell me your question again. My gosh.
Just more kind of the wrapping up and thinking about your reflections on what do you think the future of education could and should look like, and how do programs like yours fit into that?
I think we could be a model for others. I think that it's a very sellable program, and I'd love to write it all down and get it to the public. I would love to be training others that do that. I think man, it would be cool to just be the hub of, the Bloomsbury way, and it just the farm, the way of doing it, it just could, yeah, it's a training place, a jump off point, just to come see how we do and what we do.
Amazing. I love that vision of being able to incubate and inspire so many more of these farm programs, so that so many more kids can take advantage of this. And like you said, Katie, we'll see what they become. They'll just be these incredibly independent, autonomous humans who, like you say, have respect for themselves, respect for each other, and respect for the land. So just such a beautiful program that you've both created, and really appreciate you sharing more about it. If my listeners and viewers want to connect with you and learn more about Bloomsbury Farm School, what is the best way for them to do that?
We have a newsletter, and that is found on our website. Stay connected there. We've got social media at Bloomsbury Farm School, to follow along on a daily basis, a Facebook, and yeah, hopefully worldwide soon. So yeah.
I love it. And it's bloomsburyfarmschool.com. Lauren Palmer and Katie Dewhurst, thank you so much for being on the Liberated podcast.
Thank you so much, Carrie.